I wanted to request Dr. Sapna Poti to share her thoughts for the overall. I think you've been working so closely with the PSA, and what are your thoughts in it? How do you visualize all this coming together, and where all the organizations can come and become part of it?
Sure. Thank you, Akansha. Can I have that slide back so that I could explain the slide better? And also, just for your information, MCA goes by the originator. So the originator of these clauses has been our office, PSS office, and hence we have articulated the clauses that MCA has notified. Be it incubators or be it regarding research where CSR funds can be done, and also vaccination and COVID-19. Almost 80% of your members have helped us during the COVID-19 times, so they know that they can fund infrastructure. They know that they can fund last mile connectivity. They also know that they can fund a lot of R&D work and studies that we need to do. And quite a few of them have also helped us with artificial intelligence, so it's not new for your members. Employees will never be covered under this clause, and that is also stated by our department through the MCA notification, because employees can afford their own vaccination. And government will be funding most of the vaccination, so it's only for the last mile collectivity, and the funds can go to the NGOs. So the funds of CSR can go only to the NGOs, to research institutes, to academic institutes of national importance, which is the IITs, NITs, ICERs, CSIRs, and the research institutes and academic institutes. And if you need to fund the startup for purchase of any infrastructure to be provided to the state government, etc., you can fund it through the incubator. Because again, incubator is allowed to receive the funds. The same was followed during COVID-19. So we will not encourage any kind of deviation from the CSR rules in terms of whom you can fund. So that's very clear that research institutes, academic institutes, startups, incubators for startups are the ones who can receive funds, because they will need to provide you utilization certificates. They will need to do the accounting as per the CSR regulations. So in this garb of vaccination, we are not really going to permit any change of rules for which is already existing in CSR. We've done it for a year, and we'll continue to do it with your support. So let me just take you through each of these so that you understand a bit of what these interventions are all about, and so that whatever interests you, you can take it forward. The first one being vaccination drive community engagement. This is not really under our purview. It is your NGOs who can work with the state government. They can work with the local government hospitals for the underprivileged, where you can fund the NGO to do this community engagement and get them to understand about vaccines and how important they are and so on, and also get them to use the application, the app which is available, and queue themselves for vaccination and so on. This is a very small chunk of money, but in terms of effort, I think that's quite a lot of effort over there, which the country would require. The second one being cold storages and cold chain. There are several innovative cold chains and cold storage facilities today. Small startups have come up with a lot of innovations. They are all market ready. They have been using it, to go for the last mile connection, be it for northeast or remote rural areas. All of these will require cold storages. Even if it is room temperature, by the time it reaches the last mile, you will need some kind of a cold storage. So there are a lot of portable cold storages which the startups would be happy to manufacture and produce. Like I said, there were 300 innovations during COVID that startups offered to the country and also outside at a very low cost and high quality. So you can purchase it through the incubator. The funds should be routed through the incubator so that your CSR utilization certificate and accounting is done well. The third one, and also in the case of cold storages, organizations like Siemens and quite a few Cummins and quite a few manufacturing companies like BHEL, etc., can offer their manufacturing setup so that the cold storages that the startup has can also be manufactured at a scale that this country would require. Because all of us must understand that even for us, our scientist community as well as for the startups, this has been the first time. So quite a lot of the, we've been discovering very fast and we've been working very fast. Uh, and the cold storage, of course, yes, it will be useful after the vaccination also. There are several things for which cold storages are required. Last stage vaccination development. Now there are quite a few vaccine, which is in the last stage. There's one with Johnson and Johnson. There's one with the Indian Institute of Science, Professor Vardarajan, who's working on one. There are quite a few vaccine variants which are at the last stage. So proposals for that can be sourced and provided to you if you would like to fund those, so that we have more variants, because the population that we are talking about, not only in India but also other developing countries like African countries, etc., vaccination, one or two vaccinations are surely not going to be enough. So we need at least 5 or 6 variants coming out this year. The next one is testing and sequencing studies. The Honorable PSA discussed about this type of studies. This is basically to look at how you can fund either the hardware, which is, you need BD systems, you need Illumina and all the other machinery for doing sequencing, or the consumables, because when you do these tests, you take the swab and you do the test, you need a lot of consumables. So any of you can fund those consumables or fund the studies, and we will be happy to provide those proposals. Um, and then, of course, the machinery itself is quite expensive, so that's the capex part of it. Luckily for us, most of the, during last year we had quite a lot. Intel and some other organizations bought those machinery and provided to our research institute, so that was quite a relief. But consumables, like I said, would be required. Funding to prepare, disseminate training manual in different languages. Again, we could always provide a training manual in English, and you could take it on and work on the different languages and convert them. So this is basically for the health workers and people who are, who needs to be vaccinated, who doesn't need to be vaccinated, and so on. So that's a technical training manual that could be provided. Post-vaccination studies, we need to do several of them because of the fact that, as I said, 4 to 5 variants would be coming into the market. So we need to know which is the best of the lot. So several immunology studies and vaccination studies post-vaccination studies would be required, where people could, between these variants, which are the best ones, which are coming up with lesser side effects, etc., could be showcased, so that those are the ones which would be scaled up largely. Contribution in kind, of course, artificial intelligence experts. But let me tell you, we already have quite a few AI experts who have been linked to the research institutes. So whoever is coming after that, it all depends on the number of studies and the scale up of studies, and depending on that, we could take your experts. But any such offer is quite welcome. It's just that the expectations need to be managed in terms of how many AI experts would be required for this kind of studies. Funding and purchase of consumables, like I said, this is the biggest one, because sequencing machines and systems, there's quite a lot of work to be done. All kinds of studies need sequencing work, so that would be essential. And then you have, like I said, factories and capacity for manufacturing cold storages and any other area supporting COVID testing and vaccination. So I think you have IGIB, you have CCMB in Hyderabad, IGIB in Delhi. The 4 clusters that Sir mentioned were Pune, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and you have Delhi, yeah. So 4 of these clusters, we want to pilot all of these studies in these clusters, and then at a national level, and then scale it up. So that is the structured manner in which we would like to go. So each of these, we would be happy to source the proposals from different startups, from national incubators and national institutes of eminence. As far as possible, we would like to stick to quality. So since these technologies are such that they need to have high quality and low cost, we will be sourcing the proposals from around 100 institutes and 4 clusters. So this is all that we will be able to provide in terms of proposals to you on a regular basis. And of course, your NGOs are all linked with your own CSR organizations, and you can surely work with them. But that's, like I said, a very small chunk of CSR funds can go into that. But you'll be able to use the volunteers per se. Yeah, so that's about it from me. I'm happy to take questions which are relevant to these projects.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Sapna Poti. I think you've spelled it out so nicely, and I think I will now take some questions. We'll start some questions. So, Savisa has asked if CSR funds are spent on making the vaccine accessible to common people, what kind of a liability would companies have if there are adverse effects or any other safety concerns? So, how do we address that situation?
The vaccines which are being developed are already being funded by a lot of CSR organizations as well as individual HNI folks, and the indemnity stops with the vaccination developer and not with the funder who provides the funds for vaccination development.
This is from Sumitra. So she's asking, what if CSR funds are sponsored for procuring cold storages or capacity for manufacturing cold storages to NGOs? Will there be any potential liability on the company?
During last year, a lot of organizations funded the incubators so that the incubators could, request startups to produce as well as supply mass PP testing kits as well. There was absolutely, no issues in terms of the CSR utilization certificates or accounting, and of course there was absolutely, because CSR funds and the CSR organizations is the third level. So then you have the incubator, then you have the manufacturer. So naturally the CSR fund or the CSR organization is not going to be affected in any way. And all of this has been tested and tried last year for at least about 10 to 15 items, ventilators, masks, PPE. So a lot of CSR funds have gone in purchasing these through the startups. However, the funding was given to the incubator, and the incubator funded the startup, so that there is no the utilization certificate accounting is done by the incubator along with the corporate. So there should not be any issue. Infrastructure purchase, that is, cold storage purchase, all of that is under the vaccination, clause that we have inserted. And also, pharma companies are allowed, to go out of their way and fund any of these studies, because the pharma companies also understand sequencing and all these studies much better. So, be it BD, be it Biocons, several of them have come forward to fund some of these studies as well, and infrastructure which is required for these studies.
Done. Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Sapna. I think since we're running out of time, I have this one question that I would like to ask to Krishna. I think the two of them actually. So the person has not cited the name, but the question is: several corporates here have expertise and products that are aligned to some of the requirements that are listed on the presentation over here. Donations in kind or product or services is not recognized by the law. What is the on leveraging expertise of corporates outside of their employee talent under CSR?
In case NASCOM wants anything to be inserted or any particular clause to be explained, further, we'll be happy to take it to MCA. For instance, for that employees will not be allowed was articulated because of some of the inputs that I had received. So happy to articulate infrastructure addition, because all of this is included. But if you want it to be written explicitly in the clause for you to understand, we will be happy to take it with the MCA.
That is so wonderful, Dr. Sapna. That is extremely wonderful. Sure, NASCOM Foundation will definitely kind of collaborate, and we will definitely put forward all the requests that we are getting from our CSR leaders over here, and we will try to get another kind of a small, round table where we can kind of take this in more depth. With that, I think I would really like to thank you all. Thank you so much, Rahul. Thank you so much, Krishna and Sapna. I can't thank you enough. You've been the threading pillar, and you've helped us put this whole thing together.